but I wanted to go ahead and welcome everybody for joining us. This is looking like it might end up being our second biggest STEM Trail event ever. We've been around for 2 years, the STEM Trail Center at the UNO. And our biggest event was, of course, the kickoff, where we had hundreds of people. And so it's nice that we can still draw lots of people now during the age of the pandemic when we're not actually physically together in the same space. But this is the Teaching Practices Workshop Series. So please make sure to be prepared to engage here. It's good to have your video cameras on, for example. This Teaching Practices Workshop Series, it's co-sponsored with the Center for Faculty Excellence. Karen Heen might wave there. She is the director for the Center for Faculty of Excellence. And we have this workshop series first Friday of every month at 11 a.m. There's a variety of other series going on also on Fridays at 11 a.m. through the STEM Trail Center, and a number of mostly student-centered series on Wednesdays at 10 a.m., new this year. So please keep a lookout for our other events. But for today, I wanted to welcome Bonnie Stachowiak, who is the host of the Teaching in Higher Education podcast. I feel like we have a visiting dignitary here today. So she hosts this podcast. She's done this for a number of years. She also created it. And it is a space for discussing art and science of facilitating learning, the art and science of facilitating learning, and a number of other things on the podcast, because it is really just about higher education overall. And the podcast has been profiled in a number of places, and it won the Merlot Classics Award in 2016. Bonnie's doctorate is in education in organizational leadership from Pepperdine University, and she is currently serving as Dean of Teaching and Learning and Professor of Business and Management at Vanguard University of Southern California. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Bonnie Stachowiak.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am excited to be with you and for us to get to engage in the conversation about some practical ways that we can reach and engage students. As Patrick mentioned, I have been hosting the Teaching in Higher Ed podcast since June 2014. I like to say that I have hosted a podcast long before it was ironic. And just to make it worse, my husband also has a podcast, and it feels really ridiculous when we first meet people because a lot of people have podcasts today, but it is an absolute joy of mine to have been able to speak with these incredible educators from all around the world for all those years, and really to become friends with so many of them and be a part of groups like yours that are working in solidarity to be able to serve our students, all of our students, better. There have been, as of yesterday, 329 episodes, almost 2 million downloads, a lot of guests, and some come back for more than one time, which is why the number of episodes don't match the number of guests, and in a number of countries all around the world. Let's start by beginning at the end. I like to do this because I like to take a lot of notes if I feel like I'm not going to have some resource to follow up with a session like this. And I did want to make you aware that there's a pretty extensive resources page over at teachinginhighered.com/trail2020. And I'll be showing this link again at the end if you don't want to jot it down now, but if you'd like to jot it down, you're welcome to do so. And that resources page has all of the slides I am about to show you. It also has links to all of the resources I'm about to tell you about, whether that be a book, an article, a podcast episode, or some type of a tool. So again, I'll be repeating this link at the end of this session, but I wanted to allow you an opportunity to sit back and breathe a sigh of relief if you don't want to take notes on all of the slides again, because they'll all be there for you. And thanks to Karen and Patrick for putting that in the chat as well. That's great, so people can just click on it and head on over. Either now, you could bookmark it, or again, it's going to come up at the end of the presentation as well. This is a little bit of what it looks like. So again, the slides and links over to resources as well. I am going to be using a few times during the session what some people would call a second screen. So we're looking at each other on Zoom right now. If you have a second device like a mobile phone, you could head over there to...
We're over 2 hours. Is that enough? be. I guess if she starts
trying to hit the mute button and I can't get to it for some strange reason. Patrick, are you able to get to that mute button? Because some reason my mouse is playing tricks on me. My goodness gracious. There we go.
Got it.
Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to be using a second screen. If you've got one, you could pull out your mobile phone and go over to the browser on your mobile phone, Safari, or if you're on an Android, Chrome, or whatever browser it is you use. And we're going to be using this second screen in order to give some polls. I find that the poll feature in Zoom is a little bit limited, so I like to do that. But if you don't have a second screen or just aren't comfortable doing it, you're also welcome to just type in your response in the chat box. I'll be able to multitask, and of course we don't have to have all the responses coming here. But if you've got a browser you can pull up now, head over to pollev.com/dr as in Dr., B as in Bonnie, S as in Stahoviak. So just a quick response from you on how you're feeling today. I'd love to know that, and also just get us used to using poll everywhere since we're going to be using it a few times today. Let's have a look and see how people are doing. Yeah, absolutely. So the poll should be there if you go over to pollev.com/drbs. And then it should let you tap on that and hit submit. And if it's not working for you or it's not comfortable for you, you could just type into the chat box how you're feeling as well today. Looks like most of us are right in the middle of the road or a little bit above the middle of the road. We got one person who's doing awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the session over to you, whoever you are. I love it. Those of you having any difficulty with the poll or just more comfortable typing in the chat, please feel free to do so too. And thanks to TM Kennedy for saying you're fine. I'm glad to hear it. Again, I'll be using that poll a couple of other times during the session and also inviting you to type into the chat box if you prefer. So speaking of beginning with the end in mind, we have 4 ends in mind for our time today. We want to look at the ways in which our students are struggling today, so that we can be thinking about our approaches in context of that. We're going to talk about the power of curiosity in our own teaching. And we're going to look at some different ways of representing the things that we're trying to teach to students. And we're going to finish it off with a conversation about allowing students multiple ways to show off their work or show off their learning. So that's where we're headed. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad, Sharon, you're surviving. I am as well. It's so good to have you here, and I'm excited about our conversations. You've probably heard this meme, the struggle is real. I just put an S on it because I'm reminded on a daily basis of how real the struggles are that our students are having these days, whether it be food and housing insecurity. We know that mental health challenges such as anxiety and depression have gone way up during the pandemic. We know that those things were issues for our students before the thing even began. So recognizing that our teaching, our caring for our students happens in a context. So we know that those are real, and I would love to know from you, where are you seeing things with the students that you're engaging with? So if you would spend a little bit of time over on that poll or in the chat box, rank ordering from most prevalent that you're seeing to least prevalent for your students, we'll kind of get a sense of where everyone is at. So you on your mobile device, or if you've got a second screen open on your computer, you're just going to tap on these things and push them up or push them down in the order that makes most sense for you and your students. What's the most that you're seeing and the least that you're seeing? And as different people submit their responses, you'll see them continue to change on the screen. I'll be watching the chat box too for anyone that wants to identify. Maybe our chat